Your self-perception holds no significance to me. Please exit my store immediately, or I will have to contact security to assist you in leaving." The voice resonated within the immaculate Beverly Hills jewelry store as 42-year-old Diana Mitchell, an African-American woman, confronted store manager Patricia Whitman. Diana's hands quivered with a barely restrained fury, her navy blazer impeccably tailored amidst the turmoil unfolding around her. Diana's eyes burned with a fierce intensity that caused everyone in the store to come to a standstill. Her gaze held an unspoken intensity, a hint of strength kept in check, revealing a person who had reached the limits of their endurance. Patricia's cheeks turned a deep shade of crimson as she extended her hand toward her phone. "I'm contacting law enforcement. Your appearance suggests a certain level of suspicion that could warrant an arrest." But Diana was already one step ahead, drawing forth her own device with hands that had ceased trembling and were now unnervingly steady. "Proceed. Reach out to them. However, allow me to place my call first." Unbeknownst to Patricia, the manager, this moment marked the start of her unraveling, as the woman she had belittled unveiled her true identity. Before we embark on this narrative journey, if you hold the belief that every individual deserves respect, regardless of their skin color, please hit the subscribe button and share the word respect along with your country of origin in the comments. Diana Mitchell, at 42, established and led Luminous Designs, a thriving company with 47 stores spanning 12 states and an impressive annual revenue of $180 million. She owned boutiques in Beverly Hills, Manhattan, Chicago, and Atlanta. Stars showcased her creations on glamorous red carpets. Her engagement rings graced the pages of magazines. For the past 8 years, she has consistently secured a spot on the Forbes list of America's wealthiest self-made women. What set Diana apart was her extraordinary essence. Even with wealth that could last her for 10 lifetimes, she continued to drive her 2003 Honda Civic, the very car she purchased when her business began to thrive. Whenever people inquired about her decision not to upgrade to a luxury car, Diana consistently provided the same response. "It's an unnecessary expenditure. This vehicle takes me to my destinations, and each glance at it reminds me of my origins." Each morning, Diana adhered to her familiar routine. At the break of dawn, she slipped on that bracelet and contemplated which of her stores to surprise with an unexpected visit. This was not about monitoring staff or seeking out issues. The goal was to ensure that every customer who entered a Luminous Design store received the kind of care and attention that Diana had longed for during her own challenging times. Diana frequently shared with her employees that she created this company to ensure no one would ever experience the same feelings of exclusion she once faced when others judged her presence and deemed her unworthy of belonging. Allow me to share the tale of the place where all the intrigue took place, Luminous Designs, Beverly Hills. This was no ordinary store within Diana's realm. This was her premier establishment, her source of pride. The shining gem of all she had created, situated on Rodeo Drive, this shop brought in $2.3 million in revenue each month. It was the place where the stars adorned themselves for glamorous occasions, where the legacy of old Hollywood wealth frequented for generations, where engagement rings valued higher than the average home were merely part of a typical Tuesday transaction. Diana meticulously crafted each aspect of this store on her own. The lighting was expertly arranged to ensure that each diamond shimmered with flawless brilliance. Patricia Whitman was at the helm of this flagship location. Patricia, at 38, possessed impeccably styled hair and a wardrobe that exuded an air of timeless wealth. She had been raised in Connecticut, in a household where affluence was neither ostentatious nor novel. It was simply a part of existence, akin to possessing blue eyes or brown hair. Patricia viewed her new position as something beyond merely overseeing the store. In her thoughts, she had been enhancing the brand. She infused an air of elegance and uniqueness that she believed the company required. Patricia had truly convinced herself that not every customer was suited for Luminous Designs, and she had made it her mission to determine who deserved the complete Luminous experience. Under Patricia's leadership was 26-year-old Kevin Torres, the assistant manager who embodied qualities that were the complete opposite of Patricia. Then there was Ashley Chen, the 23-year-old sales associate who embodied all the beauty of Diana's vision for her company. And finally, there was Marcus Johnson, the 45-year-old security guard who required this job more than anyone else in the store. On this particular morning, Diana chose to pay an unexpected visit to the Beverly Hills store. She slipped into her Honda Civic, the very vehicle that often drew curious glances when she parked it outside upscale boutiques, and navigated the streets of Beverly Hills toward the store that symbolized all her hard work. As Diana stepped into her flagship store in Beverly Hills, her attention was drawn not to the sparkling displays or the gentle strains of classical music that filled the air. One of the display cases had a slight tilt to it, yet Diana remained silent on the matter. This was intended to be a surprise visit to see how her store functioned in the absence of the CEO. She adjusted her navy blazer, brushed her fingers over her grandmother's bracelet for good fortune, and ventured further into the store she had meticulously crafted from the very beginning. Diana made her way directly to the focal point of the store, the Aurora collection. This was no ordinary jewelry display. This was Diana's crowning achievement, a $2 million collection of exquisite diamonds that epitomized the highest level of her company's artistry. The Aurora necklace was valued at $350,000, and Diana regarded it as one of the most exquisite pieces she had ever encountered. As Diana neared the Aurora display, Patricia caught sight of her and strolled over, wearing what seemed to be a warm smile. Yet, had you observed more intently, you might have noticed that Patricia's smile fell short of illuminating her eyes. She had already assessed Diana based on her looks and formed conclusions about the type of clientele she was encountering. "Hello," Patricia spoke in a tone that felt overly bright, tinged with a hint of condescension. "Are you in search of something unique today?" Diana, completely unaware of the scrutiny she faced, had reacted with authentic excitement. "Absolutely. I would love to take a look at the Aurora collection." As soon as Diana uttered those words, Patricia's artificial grin began to waver. The Aurora collection was not intended for casual browsers. These were exceptional pieces that demanded discerning buyers with substantial financial means. Patricia's voice shifted as she remarked, "Oh, those are our premium pieces. Their starting point is $200,000. Diana noticed the shift in Patricia's tone, yet she chose to extend her trust. Perhaps Patricia was merely attempting to assist by clarifying the price range. Diana responded with a sense of calm understanding. "I would still like to see them." At that moment, Patricia found herself in a rather awkward situation. She found herself unable to simply decline the opportunity to display the jewelry. That would have been too clearly biased. However, she also didn't want to squander time with someone she had concluded was unable to purchase these items. Thus, she opted for an alternative method. "Would it be all right if I inquired about the reason for the gathering?" Patricia inquired, seeking a way to guide Diana toward more budget-friendly choices. Diana found herself truly perplexed by the inquiry. Throughout her extensive experience in the jewelry trade, she had never encountered a situation where she needed to explain her desire to examine an item. "Is it significant?" she had inquired. With a hint of hesitation, Patricia had opened the Aurora display case, yet she remained close, as if she were safeguarding precious treasures from an unseen intruder. She moved at a deliberate pace, seemingly wishing for Diana to lose interest and leave. Yet Diana remained right there. Instead, she leaned in to scrutinize the pieces with the discerning gaze of someone seasoned in the jewelry trade for more than 20 years. She gestured towards the centerpiece necklace and remarked, "The cut on this diamond is truly exceptional." "Is it of Colombian origin?" Patricia found herself utterly unprepared. How could this woman discern the origins of diamonds merely by observation? Typically, customers lacked that level of understanding. What was your process for... Indeed, Patricia had faltered in her speech. Diana pressed on with her examination, and the next words she spoke should have alerted Patricia to the fact that she was in the presence of someone with a deeper understanding of jewelry than the average professional in the field. "The clarity is impeccable, yet I observed that the setting has room for enhancement. The prongs exhibit a slight unevenness, At this point, Patricia had started to become quite defensive. No one had questioned the quality of her work, particularly not a random patron who had arrived in a Honda Civic. "Our pieces are meticulously crafted by master jewelers," she stated with a certain rigidity. Diana, attempting to maintain her composure, responded, "I'm sure they are. I have a strong preference for quality." That was the moment when everything transformed. The front door chimed, and in stepped Mr. and Mrs. Blackstone, a well-to-do couple, in their 60s, who frequented the establishment. Patricia's whole presence shifted in an instant. Her face radiated with authentic enthusiasm, and she nearly sprang on her toes as she welcomed them. "Excuse me," Patricia said to Diana, her gaze elsewhere. "I must assist these valued clients." Patricia hurried to the Blackstones, brimming with the kind of eagerness she ought to display for every customer. "Mr. and Mrs. Blackstone, what a delight it is to encounter you. What brings you here today? Are you in search of something extraordinary for your anniversary?" Diana stood by the open display case, feeling the weight of solitude as she was overlooked by everyone around her. Every word of Patricia's conversation with the Blackstones reached her ears, and the content of that exchange left her feeling nauseous. "Apologies for the wait," Patricia remarked to the Blackstones, casting a quick look at Diana. "All sorts of characters find their way in here." Diana remained rooted in place, grappling with the weight of the words that had just reached her ears. Throughout her 23 years of nurturing her business, she had faced discrimination in the past, but never within her own store, nor from someone she employed to embody her company's values. Ashley Chen, the aspiring artist and diligent sales associate, had become aware of the unfolding events. She noticed Diana standing by herself, clearly overlooked, and it troubled her. Ashley was brought up to honor others, no matter their appearance or background. Ashley approached Diana, her smile warm and sincere. "Excuse me, is there anything I can assist you with?" Before Diana could respond, Patricia cast a piercing glance at Ashley from across the store. "Ashley, organize the back inventory," Patricia commanded, her tone firm enough to convey that this was not a mere suggestion. Diana had witnessed the entire interaction and felt a pang of guilt for placing Ashley in such an uncomfortable situation. "It's all good, my dear. I shall remain patient." She had gently informed Ashley, and indeed she had. For what felt like an eternity, Diana remained in that store, observing as Patricia lavished attention on the Blackstones, utterly disregarding her presence. Diana observed as Patricia unveiled the Blackstones, detailing the rich history and intricate craftsmanship behind each item. She observed as Patricia presented them with champagne, while they settled into the plush chairs. She observed Patricia attending to them with the utmost care, embodying the ideal service expected in a radiant design boutique. In the meantime, Diana lingered beside the still-open Aurora display case, unseen. After 15 minutes of being overlooked, Diana concluded that she had offered Patricia ample opportunities to act appropriately. She strolled back to where Patricia was engaged in conversation with the Blackstones and gracefully interjected. "Excuse me," Diana said, her tone remaining steady and composed. "I remain intrigued by the Aurora piece." Patricia cast a glance at Diana, her irritation barely hidden. She was obviously annoyed that Diana failed to pick up on the subtle cues and remained present. Patricia had said her frustration no longer concealed. Those pieces demand a significant financial investment. "Perhaps you might find it more suitable in our more affordable fashion jewelry area." The fashion jewelry area. Patricia had been earnestly attempting to guide Diana towards the more affordable items in the store, those priced under $500, as she had concluded that Diana was unable to purchase anything costly. Diana sensed her jaw clench, yet she maintained a calm tone. "I would like to acquire the Aurora necklace, the $350,000 work." Patricia chuckled softly. Not a courteous chuckle, but a heartfelt laugh, as if Diana had just shared the most hilarious joke she had ever encountered. "Proof of funds will be required before proceeding," Patricia remarked, her smile suggesting she had uncovered some playful secret of Diana's. "Verification of financial resources?" Diana inquired, her confusion evident. "Credit cards, bank statements, anything that demonstrates your financial capability," Patricia had articulated. as though she were addressing a child who was oblivious to the intricacies of money management. Diana surveyed the store, her thoughts swirling in a whirlwind. Is this the usual policy for every customer? Patricia cast a sidelong look at the Blackstones, who continued to browse leisurely, unbothered by any requests for financial verification. Indeed, for transactions of this scale, absolutely. Patricia had woven her deception with ease, yet Diana had been observing the Blackstones intently for the last 15 minutes. She had witnessed them manage items valued equally to the Aurora necklace. She had witnessed Patricia serve them champagne and pamper them like nobility. She observed that Patricia had never requested proof of funds, credit checks, or any form of financial verification. Patricia faced her. Leave this place. Your appearance hardly suggests that you could afford the Aurora piece. It seems you might be here with less than honorable intentions, so I suggest you leave. Diana met Patricia's gaze directly and declared, I won't get out. The declaration lingered in the atmosphere, poised like a ticking time bomb ready to detonate. Patricia's smile had vanished entirely as she came to understand that Diana was not merely a bewildered shopper who had stumbled into the wrong place. Diana was a person who grasped the situation fully and refused to let it pass unnoticed. If you found yourself in Diana's situation, would you choose to exit the store to restore harmony, or linger to uncover your true self? We'd love to hear your insights in the comments, and be sure to subscribe for more captivating tales like this one. The air in the store felt as if it had plummeted by 10 degrees as the two women locked eyes, a palpable tension hanging between them. The Blackstones paused their browsing and shifted their attention to observe. Ashley stood motionless behind the counter. Kevin glanced up from his paperwork, a look of worry crossing his face. Even Marcus, the security guard, had adjusted his stance to gain a clearer perspective on the events that were taking place. Diana had extended to Patricia every chance to show her the respect that every person deserves. She maintained her composure, exhibiting grace and professionalism, even in the face of clear bias. Yet Patricia had stepped over a boundary that Diana found impossible to overlook. Beg your pardon? Patricia's expression had solidified, her veneer of civility finally shattering entirely. The mask was removed, revealing an unsettling sight beneath it that Diana could hardly bear to witness. You heard me, Diana responded, her voice steady, yet tinged with a newfound sharpness. From the instant I entered, your treatment of me has been distinct. Patricia's eyes sparkled with indignation. How could this woman have the audacity to accuse her of discrimination? I adhere to our store standards with everyone, she stated, crossing her arms defensively. Diana surveyed the store with a keen thigh cathur at the Blackstones, who continued to be treated like royalty, at the champagne glasses Patricia had presented to them, at the inviting comfort of the chairs they had been welcome to occupy. She turned her gaze back to Patricia. Your criteria appear to fluctuate depending on the hue of one's skin. That accusation struck Patricia with the force of a sudden blow. Her voice soared an octave as she nearly let out a shriek. Your behavior is unacceptable, and I must request that you exit the premises. But Diana was standing her ground, not this time. Not within her own establishment. I will remain here until I have a conversation with your manager. Patricia's face flushed with fury. I hold the position of manager. Diana's voice held a steady tone, yet there was a hint of steel beneath it now. I would like to speak with your manager, please. At this location there's no one above me, Patricia proclaimed, inflating herself with a sense of superiority. Welcome to my store. A subtle change flickered across Diana's face. Her voice had fallen to a near whisper, yet it conveyed a greater sense of menace than if she had been raising her voice. What about your store? That was the moment Patricia committed the gravest error of her professional life. Rather than acknowledging the peril surrounding her, instead of heeding the caution in Diana's tone, Patricia had intensified her hubris. Indeed, my shop. Patricia let out a scream, her accent sharpening as her composure began to unravel. I manage this establishment and determine who receives service and who does not. Diana straightened her posture, and for the first time since entering the store, She exuded the essence of a formidable businesswoman. "So you've concluded that I am unworthy of service? I have come to the conclusion that you are creating a disturbance and may be involved in theft," Patricia retorted, her hands flailing animatedly as she spoke. At that moment, the whole store fell silent, leaving only their voices to fill the air. The Blackstones had ceased their pretense of browsing and were now openly observing the confrontation. Other customers had taken out their phones and were capturing everything on video. Ashley remained motionless behind the counter, her hand pressed against her mouth in disbelief. Despite the gentle strains of classical music, the tension in the air remained palpable. Kevin Torres, the assistant manager who had been observing this catastrophe develop, had ultimately decided to intervene. His business school training had informed him that this situation was spiraling out of control and required immediate de-escalation. "Patricia, perhaps we ought to consider that." Kevin began with a measured tone, his words carefully chosen, but Patricia spun around to face him with the ferocity of a cornered beast. "Kevin, don't get involved," she shouted, jabbing her finger at him in accusation. She then directed her attention to Marcus, the security guard. "Marcus, please see this lady out." "Excuse me, are you certain?" Marcus spoke with caution, glancing back and forth between Patricia and Diana. At that moment, Patricia had utterly lost control. Her voice soared to a piercing shriek that likely echoed 3 stories down. "She is a trespasser and has no place in this realm. Remove her immediately or you will both lose your jobs." The term "fired" reverberated throughout the store. Patricia had just issued a warning to terminate 2 employees for their refusal to escort a customer out. A customer who had done nothing wrong except express interest in purchasing high-end jewelry while being black. Diana's poise, which had remained unshaken through 15 minutes of subtle jabs and blatant bias, had finally faltered, not giving way to fury, but to something far more perilous: chilled, methodical rage. "Are you interested in discussing the topic of terminating employees?" Diana inquired softly, her voice barely above a whisper, prompting everyone in the store to lean in closer to catch her words. Diana had taken out her phone, but her hands had trembled at that moment, not with fear, but with a fierce intensity, born from years of being overlooked, disregarded and treated unjustly. The fury of a woman who had forged an empire from the ground up, only to witness an employee dismantle all her efforts in just half an hour. "Please refrain from recording." Patricia had let out a piercing scream, her emotions spiraling into complete hysteria. Diana lifted her gaze from her phone, her eyes sharp enough to slice through glass. "I'm not recording," she stated in a voice that was chillingly composed. "I'm reaching out to my board of directors." For the first time since this confrontation had started, Patricia appeared truly perplexed. "What are you saying?" Diana's fingers glided over her phone screen as she dialed a number etched in her memory. When someone responded, her tone was sharp and authoritative, the voice of an individual accustomed to being followed, without hesitation. "Sarah, this is Diana Mitchell. We need to convene an emergency board meeting immediately." Patricia had heard the name Diana Mitchell, and a faint recollection stirred in the depths of her mind. That name rang a bell, but from where had she encountered it? Amidst her turmoil and fury, she found herself unable to fully grasp it. But across the store, Ashley Chen had turned as pale as a ghost. She was anxiously scrolling through her phone, her eyes widening with each passing second. In an instant, she gasped with such intensity that numerous patrons glanced her way. Kevin Torres observed Diana intently during the entire confrontation, and a persistent feeling about her demeanor, her self-assurance, and her expertise in jewelry lingered in his mind. Upon hearing the name Diana Mitchell and witnessing Ashley's response, everything finally fell into place. The hue faded from his complexion as the truth of their identity dawned on him. Diana maintained her phone conversation, her voice resonating distinctly in the hushed store. "Indeed, I'm currently at the Beverly Hills location, and we are facing a significant issue." The way she referred to the Beverly Hills location, not just the Beverly Hills store or a store in Beverly Hills, but the Beverly Hills location, suggested a sense of ownership, a claim to authority, and an assertion that she had the right to convene emergency board meetings regarding events that transpired in that store. Patricia remained frozen, her mouth agape, struggling to comprehend the words that reached her ears. The name Diana Mitchell floated in her mind, elusive and just out of reach, like a word she couldn't quite recall, lingering at the edge of her consciousness. Diana had continued into her phone, insisting that the entire board needed to be brought into the conference. Indeed, every single one. This needs to be addressed immediately. By that time, other customers had been capturing everything on their phones. The Blackstones had drawn nearer, clearly captivated by the spectacle unfolding before them. Ashley was demonstrating something on her phone, and with each passing moment, Kevin's complexion grew increasingly ashen. A significant breach of company policy has occurred. Diana spoke into her phone, her gaze fixed intently on Patricia's face. Exclusion, mistreatment, total disregard for our fundamental principles. Every word struck Patricia as if it were a tangible force. What is the company policy? Fundamental principles. Who was this woman, and what gave her the impression that she had the right to speak with authority regarding store policies? Diana had said, "I'll hold while you get everyone on the line." Then she lowered her phone and fixed her gaze on Patricia. The store was so silent that the faintest sound of a pin dropping would have echoed through the air. All eyes were on the scene as customers and employees alike stood in a state of anticipation, eager to discover what would unfold next. Even the classical music appeared to have ceased, though perhaps it was merely due to everyone holding their breath. Diana stood there, phone in hand, gazing at Patricia with a mix of disappointment, rage, and an indescribable emotion swirling within her. Something that appeared nearly akin to sorrow, the sorrow of an individual who crafted something exquisite, only to witness its ruin at the hands of those she believed would safeguard it. Patricia had at last discovered her voice, though it emerged as little more than a whisper. "Who is it? Whom are you reaching out to?" Diana's smile cut through the air like a finely honed edge. "I informed you about my board of directors, the individuals responsible for making decisions regarding stores like this one, the ones who determine who remains and who departs." At that moment, Patricia Whitman came to the profound realization that she had committed the gravest error of her existence. The name Diana Mitchell was more than just familiar. It was the name that appeared on every company memo, every policy document, and every paycheck she had received over the past 8 months. Diana Mitchell was far more than an ordinary customer who had simply stumbled into the store. Diana Mitchell was the visionary, the driving force, the woman who transformed Luminous Designs from the ground up and held ownership of every store in the company. The woman whom Patricia had discriminated against, dismissed and attempted to have removed from the store, was not just any customer. She was the one who made the purchase. The sole client in existence who possessed the ability to terminate Patricia's career with just one phone call. And Patricia had just provided her with every justification to proceed in that very manner. "Oh my God," Ashley gasped, her voice climbing with each word as the weight of the situation crashed down on her like a freight train. Kevin Torres glanced at Ashley's phone screen and noticed the company newsletter photo that every employee at Luminous Designs received each month. Diana Mitchell graced the front page, her smile illuminating the headline CEO Spotlight as she crafted dreams one store at a time. Kevin's face shifted from pale to a ghostly white as he grasped that they were all witnessing the unraveling of Patricia's career in real time. "Patricia, please cease. Please refrain from speaking." Kevin spoke with urgency, attempting to prevent his boss from entrenching herself further in a situation from which she would struggle to escape. Yet Patricia remained utterly unaware of the catastrophe that was unraveling around her. She surveyed the stunned expressions of her employees, the customers capturing every moment, and the turmoil she had instigated, then boldly questioned, "What are you all staring at?" It was at that moment that Diana concluded her phone call. She returned her phone to her purse, with the measured grace of one who had just ignited a pivotal moment in the pursuit of truth. As she gazed up at Patricia, her face wore a serene expression, almost peaceful, embodying the calm that often precedes a storm. "Patricia," Diana had asserted, her tone imbued with the confidence of one accustomed to commanding attention. What insights do you have regarding the foundational principles of luminous design? Patricia felt a wave of irritation wash over her at the question. Here she was attempting to manage what she perceived as a troublesome customer, and now this woman was interrogating her about company policy. Diana reached into her purse with a measured slowness, reminiscent of a gunslinger drawing their weapon in a classic Western film. She retrieved a business card, delicately pinching it between two fingers, allowing Patricia to examine it closely. Diana Mitchell, she had proclaimed, founder and chief executive officer. The sound that escaped from Patricia's throat was neither a gasp nor a scream, but something in between. In just 3 seconds, the echo of a life unraveling filled the air, a poignant reminder of everything lost. The business card felt like a final farewell to her professional journey. Patricia gazed at the card, her hands trembling so fiercely that she struggled to concentrate on the words. This is not. That's impossible. Diana's voice was steady, yet beneath that steadiness lay a sharpness capable of slicing through the hardest of materials. What can't it be, Patricia? Struggling to find success? Is wealth unattainable? Unable to possess the shop you just asserted was yours? The profound impact of Patricia's actions was gradually becoming clear. She had shown bias against her own CEO. She attempted to have the company's founder ousted from her own establishment. She had breached every fundamental tenet that Diana had established for the company, and she had done so in full view of cameras and onlookers. Patricia's calm facade had utterly crumbled. Her face was wet with tears as she succumbed to her emotions. I was unaware, I never intended. However, Diana showed no interest in Patricia's justifications. 2 decades of entrepreneurship had sharpened her ability to recognize insincere apologies and frantic attempts to reverse course. Every word Diana had spoken resonated with a profound sense of conviction. You intended each glance, every presumption. The Blackstones, observing the unfolding drama as if it were a cinematic spectacle, had discreetly collected their belongings and exited the store. They felt a deep sense of shame for their involvement in this predicament, feeling a deep sense of discomfort, witnessing the stark contrast of their own treatment compared to the unfairness faced by another customer right before their eyes. Other customers stood motionless, some still capturing the moment on their devices, all of them aware that they were experiencing something remarkable. This was more than merely a customer grievance. This was a moment of truth. Diana faced each of her employees one by one, her voice resonating with the confidence of someone who had rightfully earned the power to evaluate their actions. Kevin, she remarked, her gaze fixed on the young assistant manager who had attempted to step in. This was something you attempted to prevent. You sensed that something was amiss and took steps to avert further complications. Kevin nodded, overwhelmed and at a loss for words. Tashley, Diana had continued, directing her words toward the art student who had been a source of kindness from the very start. Your compassion for a customer who was overlooked was truly commendable. You truly represent the principles that form the foundation of this organization. Ashley's eyes brimmed with tears, yet they were tears of relief and gratitude. Marcus, Diana had told the security guard, who had declined to escort her out of the store. You challenged directives that seemed misguided. You exercised your discernment rather than adhering strictly to directives. Marcus had straightened his posture, aware that his military instincts had proven effective. Then Diana turned to Patricia, her voice heavy with deep disappointment. You have disregarded every fundamental value that this organization upholds. By that point, Patricia was in tears, her makeup streaming down her face, her flawless look utterly ruined. The assurance and command she had shown only moments before had vanished entirely. Diana's voice was steady, yet it resonated with the weight of a verdict being pronounced. Patricia, it's time to tidy up your desk. Your employment here has ended. Patricia had crumpled inward, reminiscent of a structure succumbing to destruction. I have kids and a mortgage to consider. My intention was solely to safeguard the store's reputation. Diana regarded Patricia with an expression that could have been interpreted as pity. though it was undeniably tinged with profound disappointment. Whose name is at stake? Is it the store's or your own biases? I will improve. I will transform. I kindly ask you to refrain from this action, Patricia pleaded, extending her hand toward Diana as if she were submerged and gasping for air. Diana was her sole beacon of hope. Yet Diana had listened to these urgent pledges in the past from various colleagues throughout the years who had breached company rules and subsequently attempted to negotiate their escape from repercussions. You had your opportunity to improve, Diana had remarked softly. You decided against it. Every detail was recorded by the security cameras. Each microaggression, each discriminatory remark, every instance of Patricia's unprofessional conduct had been meticulously documented in vivid detail. What transpired was undeniable, leaving no space for Patricia to assert that she had been misinterpreted or unjustly treated. Diana surveyed her remaining employees, those who had endeavored to uphold their principles, even in the face of adversity. Kevin, she had remarked, at this moment, you hold the position of manager for this location. Kevin's eyes grew wide. Within just 30 minutes, he transitioned from assistant manager to the full manager of the most esteemed store in the Luminous Designs chain. Ashley, Diana went on, you have now assumed the role of assistant manager. Ashley pressed her hands to her mouth, her tears of shock transforming into tears of joy just moments before. And Marcus, Diana had remarked, directing her attention to the security guard who had demonstrated such keen discernment. Congratulations. You are being recognized for your outstanding professionalism and will receive a raise effective immediately. In under an hour, Patricia found herself stripped of everything, while 3 employees who exemplified integrity and character were justly rewarded for their principled actions. It served as an ideal illustration of the ripple effects of our choices and the importance of honoring others with dignity and respect, which transcends mere morality. The venture had proven to be quite profitable. Patricia remained on the floor, tears streaming down her face as she struggled to comprehend the upheaval that had just shattered her world. The woman she had deemed unworthy of service was not only affluent enough to purchase anything in the store, she was, in fact, the owner of the entire company. The shop that Patricia insisted was hers actually belonged to the woman she had attempted to evict. Diana cast a final glance at Patricia. Her expression revealed a complete lack of satisfaction, devoid of any joy in having ruined another's career. There existed only the calm assurance of an individual who had taken the necessary steps to safeguard the principles she had dedicated her life to nurturing. The remaining patrons in the shop continued to film, to observe, to grapple with the reality of what they had just seen. They entered with the intention of purchasing jewelry, but instead found themselves witnessing one of the most gripping displays of justice they had ever encountered. Yet Patricia was far from finished with her pleas. She rose unsteadily, mascara running down her cheeks, her once flawless hair now a chaotic mess from her emotional unraveling. "Diana, please," she had said, invoking Diana's first name for the first time, as if that sense of closeness could somehow rescue her in this moment. "I heard a single error. Don't allow it to overshadow my whole existence." Diana turned to face Patricia, and for a fleeting moment there was a glimmer of what could be interpreted as compassion in her eyes. She had softly repeated one mistake. "Patricia, this wasn't just a single error. It was a recurring pattern that exposed your true nature." "But I can transform," Patricia had pleaded with urgency. "I am open to participating in sensitivity training. I am capable of—" Diana had interjected, stating that you can't simply train away prejudice. The only option available is to refrain from taking action on it, and today you decided to embrace every single bias within you. Patricia's legs had failed her once more, and she found herself sinking into one of the chairs she had extended to the Blackstones, but never to Diana. The irony was palpable, resonating with everyone present. Diana spoke to the store once again, her voice resonating throughout the space she had crafted with her own hands. "To our valued customers who observed this," she stated, gazing directly at those still capturing the moment, "I want you to understand that this does not represent the values of Luminous Design. This does not reflect our identity, and such an occurrence will not take place again in any of my establishments. An elderly gentleman, who had been quietly observing everything, stepped forward. "Ma'am," he remarked with admiration, "the manner in which you navigated this situation displayed an unparalleled blend of grace and strength. Take a moment to appreciate the remarkable creation you've established," Diana acknowledged with a grateful nod. "I appreciate it, but my abilities reflect the talent of those who stand with me in this organization. Today, 3 of my team members demonstrated precisely why I take pride in having established this venture." Kevin was still coming to terms with his promotion, yet he moved ahead with the professionalism that had just secured him the most significant opportunity of his career. "Miss Mitchell, how shall we proceed with the remaining operations for today?" Diana surveyed the store, observing the customers, the displays, and the exquisite environment she had crafted to ensure that each person felt cherished while selecting jewelry to commemorate life's significant occasions. "We remain open," she had asserted with conviction. "Every customer is treated with the utmost respect and dignity they rightfully deserve, and we are committed to ensuring that today's events are never repeated within this organization." Ashley, still in disbelief over her promotion, had asked softly, "What about the media?" Individuals have begun sharing videos on the internet. Diana had established her enterprise during the era of social media. She realized that footage of this clash would circulate widely in no time. "Allow them to share," she had remarked with composure. "Allow the world to witness the consequences of evaluating individuals based on their looks rather than their true essence. Allow them to witness the consequences of refusing service to a patron within their establishment." Marcus approached Diana with the dignity befitting 2 individuals in the same field. "Madam, would you like me to accompany Miss Whitman out of the building?" Diana observed Patricia, who was silently collecting her belongings from behind the counter, her gestures languid and filled with resignation. "No, Marcus. Allow her to depart with the remnants of her dignity intact." Patricia halted her packing, her gaze lifting to meet Diana's for one final moment. "I truly apologize," she had said, and for the first time her words felt sincere instead of frantic. Diana gazed intently at Patricia's face, her scrutiny lasting for what felt like an eternity. She finally declared, "I believe you are. Apologies can't erase the harm that has been caused. Apologies do not undo the impact of your actions or the standard you established for your peers and the clients who observed your conduct." Patricia nodded, finally grasping that there would be no escape, no opportunity for redemption, no means to reverse her actions. Having completed the task of packing her belongings into a compact box, she made her way to the door. Just as she was about to leave, Patricia glanced back one last time. She had said quietly, "For what it's worth, you created something remarkable here. I regret that I didn't measure up to being included." Patricia Whitman stepped out of Luminous Designs Beverly Hills for the final time, clutching her box of personal items and the heavy realization that her own biases and assumptions had led to the downfall of her career. A hush fell over the store as everyone absorbed the gravity of what they had just seen. With a decisive clap of her hands, Diana captured everyone's attention, pulling them back to the moment at hand. "Very well, everyone," she had stated, her tone regaining its usual warmth and commanding presence. "We have a venture to manage. Kevin, please reach out to HR regarding Patricia's termination and your upcoming promotion. Ashley, I'm thrilled to hear about your new position. Congratulations. Tomorrow we will delve into your new responsibilities. Marcus, I appreciate your excellent judgment today, with the immediate crisis behind them and regular activities starting to take shape once more. The customers lingering in the store discovered themselves in a rare scenario, selecting jewelry from a CEO who had just imparted an indelible lesson in leadership, fairness, and the strength of adhering to one's principles, even amidst the toughest of times. Diana Mitchell entered her own store as a customer, only to feel as though she was an outsider in her own space. She had just stepped out as the CEO, having firmly reiterated the core principles of her company and the consequences for those who overlooked those values. The once askew display case was now aligned. Patricia Whitman found herself without a job, and 3 employees discovered that choosing the right path, even in challenging times, ultimately brought rewards. Justice was delivered, not through fury or retribution, but with the serene power of a woman who had dedicated her life to demonstrating that she had a rightful place wherever she decided to be. With Patricia gone and the immediate crisis behind, Diana strolled back to the display case that had intrigued her upon her arrival at the store. The case remained just a touch askew, a minor flaw in an otherwise flawless display. Diana positioned her hands on either side and carefully adjusted it until it was flawlessly aligned. The act was straightforward, yet it carried a deeper meaning, Diana restoring her store to its former state after the turmoil caused by Patricia. She turned to speak to the customers who lingered in the store, many still grappling with the events they had just witnessed. "I'm sorry for the interruption," Diana said, her tone both inviting and composed. "This does not meet the radiant benchmark." A seasoned woman, who had been silently taking in the scene, approached Diana with clear admiration in her eyes. "Ma'am," she remarked, "what you have created here is remarkable, and the way you manage that situation with such poise is admirable." Diana smiled, and for the first time since stepping into the store, it was a truly authentic smile. "Grace may not come effortlessly," she had responded, "yet it remains essential." Kevin, still finding his footing in his new position as store manager, observed Diana during the entire confrontation with a sense of admiration. "What kept you so composed for such an extended period?" he inquired. Diana regarded Kevin with the intensity of someone imparting a crucial insight. "2 decades of nurturing this business have shown me that it is my reactions that shape my identity, not the actions of others," she remarked. "I had the option to lose my cool, to shout back at Patricia, to wield my influence to put her down, but that wouldn't have justified my stance. It would have simply amplified my voice." Diana approached one of the cameras that customers were still using to record, gazing directly into the lens. When she spoke, it was with the unwavering belief of someone who had dedicated her life to transforming challenges into chances. "I didn't create this company to validate my place in the world," she had said, her voice heavy with the burden of 23 years filled with both hardship and achievement. "I crafted it to foster environments where all feel at home." She lingered, her fingers brushing against the weathered silver bracelet on her wrist, the very piece she had clung to through hardship, through heartache, through every trial that had led her to this point. "This bracelet endured hardship, prejudice, and sorrow," Diana had continued, raising her wrist for the camera to capture the unadorned piece of jewelry that held greater significance for her than all the diamonds in her collection. "It revealed to me that true worth lies not in external appearances, but in the depth of what you hold within." Diana had returned to the Aurora collection, the $2 million exhibit that Patricia had been so hesitant to reveal to her. She started to arrange each piece with meticulous care, treating every necklace, every ring, every bracelet as though it were a masterpiece worthy of admiration and focus. Achievement goes beyond merely attaining the peak. Diana spoke softly while she worked, her hands deft and confident as she arranged each piece of jewelry with precision. "It's all about the person you decide to become upon arrival." She took a step back from the display case, content that everything was precisely in its rightful place. The store was running smoothly at that point, with Kevin assisting customers, Ashley adapting to her new duties, and Marcus diligently overseeing everyone's safety. Diana surveyed the establishment she had created, observing the staff who had demonstrated unwavering integrity in challenging times, and the patrons who had seen justice delivered with grace, instead of vengeance. This was the culmination of her efforts, not merely the financial gain, but the establishment of an environment where individuals could feel appreciated and honored, no matter their background or origins. The woman, once told she didn't belong in her own store, had shown everyone precisely why she belonged wherever she decided to be, with elegance, with resilience, and with an unwavering conviction that honoring individuals was not merely a sound strategy. It had been the sole path to creating something enduring. The once crooked display case now stood straight. The biased manager was no longer present, and Diana Mitchell had once again demonstrated that the most potent reply to prejudice was not anger, but rather a success lived with grace, aimed at uplifting others. If this tale resonated with you, consider hitting the subscribe button and sharing it with others to spread the knowledge.